So welcome to the February Speakers Corner for our co-arts drop-in, and I'm very pleased to introduce you to Catherine Noyce. Uh, I'm I don't think she needs more introduction than that. You'll get to know her over the next hour, and I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation. I've said a little bit about what brings you here, that you've been doing my course Coming to Our Senses or training to deliver it, and explained how the course is a kind of creative mindfulness course from a non-duality perspective. And Catherine has some experience of that, both as a publisher of non-duality books, um, and also as well, you're not a non-duality speaker, really, are you, Catherine? You just did it a few in the early days, then you disappeared for me to
I was never.
you weren't ever, and then I discovered you and retrieved you. But also importantly, Catherine's been a nurse most of her career, I think, so she has that background, especially in particular since this course at the moment is being delivered to NHS staff. So I hope you have a nice chat, and over to you, Catherine. And thanks so much for joining us.
Well, I'm not quite sure why I'm here, but you said I was a nurse for most of my career. Well, I wasn't.
Oh,
I had a variety of odd jobs, like a cook at a yoga and ballet school, and I do not really cook. And ended up working for an estate agent, selling commercial property. And one day I was 40. I was walking down the high street taking an early lunch. It's a lovely historical high street leading to the cathedral. And a voice said to me, "Do your nurse training." So I did. So I haven't been a nurse all my career.
mm,
But interestingly, because I don't do mindfulness, that doesn't mean I don't do it either. But how would any of you deal with these instinctive, how would you say it? These things that you know you've got to do, it comes into your head somehow. How does that correlate with actually mindfulness where you're just watching the whole time? Um, so I'm a bit ignorant, so I'm hoping that people in this group will inform me and I might make you laugh. So someone speak up, please. Help, help.
mm. Tell us what the question is again, just to frame it. So,
If you're practicing mindfulness, which is really, I get it. I mean, I think it's watching what's going on, and what and just with your thoughts either focused or watching them come and go like clouds in the sky. I don't know which, so you'll have to tell me that. But how do you deal with sudden incursions, sort of lightning-like incursions that really seem to have I say truth. What is truth? Suggesting pilot, but which really just seem to point at something that you've got to do, or you've got to see, or you've got to think about. How do you deal with that? Because that is not really what I imagine mindfulness to be, but I'm not the best person in the world to tell anyone about mindfulness.
I'd be happy to jump in if you can hear me.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can. Go ahead, Catherine.
So I think DBT explains it really beautifully. There's lots of different ways of explaining it, but I quite like the way they've got circles. They've got the emotional mind, and what's the other one? Logical mind, and somewhere within that is the wise mind. And for me, when we go to mindfulness, it's allows us to access that wise mind. So we can do that in different ways, and watching thoughts come and go is just one way. And then through that, you can get that moment of clarity, that clearness, which is those insights. So I quite like, different, we might call them our higher self or something like that. I quite like the DBT calling it the wise mind. That'd be my first suggestion anyway.
So it's sort of legal under the rules of mindfulness.
I would say so, but uh, But other mindfulness teachers, such as Johan, might disagree, but I would say so.
So now that's interesting, because what's the difference between the mind and thoughts?
Someone else now.
Gotcha.
I was going to say the mind is where it takes place. I mean, thoughts are kind of instances in the flow. I mean, part of emotions are part of, if you like, mind as well, I think. Mind is just a way of kind of collecting or agglomerating all the sort of events.
Say that again, sorry. I wasn't concentrating properly.
Well, I think that kind of thing. Oh, it's all in the mind. I mean, if we don't perceive it, it hasn't happened. I think that minds are kind of spurious, kind of add in. It's a kind of concept that almost doesn't help. We know we have thoughts, we know we have emotions, and I think mindfully, well, there we go, the mind again. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a difference between mind and thoughts.
So you've got the mind and thoughts. They might or might not be the same. We can fight about it later. But then what is the self? Does the self have the thoughts? Does the self have a mind, or is the self just the thought and the mind? And is it the self that's...
I think it's C.
What?
I think it's C, or none of the above. There's another answer. No, I think the self is the self traditionally understood as a construct, isn't it? I mean, and I guess kind of quite a lot of stuff these days says you want to be careful about constructing a self because you get fixed in place. And maybe one of the things about mindfulness is as a practice, it kind of softens up that kind of sense of a self and engagement, so that we're more open to fluid experience. I mean, it's kind of hard to kind of operate in the world without a sense of self, obviously. Otherwise it's Tuesday morning. Who was I yesterday? Do I go to work? What do I do today? I don't know. But it's not to be fixed and defining ourselves, I think, by selves.
It's interesting. I mean, we are so different, because what do I think myself? Well, here I am hijacking this, because I don't see myself as thoughts. And I mean, really, it's just really tedious to get sort of metaphysical, because it really isn't separate. It's some weird sort of game. It's not a game, no. It's some weird sort of pretense that we're different from everything. And yet we need to go on being in the game. And I don't really understand that, because everything feels like one, and yet it also feels separate. So with mindfulness, and I can't speak to mindfulness because I'm ignorant on it, so I will speak at great length. With mindfulness, it's like it's part of the game, but there's are we reaching towards something? Are we evolving? Or is it just like, is it like the Tao, which is just beautiful? There's male and female, and they just have this sort of power that just goes on and flows like water. And like water, it's very powerful. Am I making sense?
No, I think that's exactly. I think that thing about the Tao is exactly how it is. I agree with you. It is weird to sort of, like you said about the separate self and understanding that exactly it's all one. But yeah, I think it made perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we were going to change the subject. We were going to talk about death. Is anyone interested in death? And having. Yeah. I'm thinking about it rather a lot, because I should be dying soon. So that is strange. But a very odd thing happened. I had some nice notes written out on my laptop so that I could just refer, and I said, well, use that, and then we'll do that. And it said, cannot access at present moment. try checking your browser. So all my notes are completely gone. But with death, what was I going to say? What is it that dies? Has anyone here ever actually been with someone dying and seen someone die? You have.
Mm.
Anyone else?
Yes,
Yeah.
both of us.
Yeah. I've seen lots of people die because that was part of my job. I mean, not hundreds, but actually possibly over 100. And I've been with quite a few people at the moment of death. And there's a couple of things I think where mindfulness, I imagine, Mrs. not being mindful, where mindfulness would be useful and where there could be a trap as well. Because I think when you're with someone who's dying, it's almost as bad as living, actually, dying, I can tell you. When you're with someone who's dying, you've got to be with them in a sense. You've really got to be with them. But you've also got to be, well, all of you, well, in some way professional. And professional also means dealing with, how rude of me, being with relatives and family. So how do we talk to people about death? And the other thing I was going to say was something dies, and I've noticed not in every case, and often probably because I was quite busy, when someone dies, all the stuff starts happening. There's a strange feeling of energy in the room. Has anyone else felt that?
It's a major event, isn't it? And we all know. So it does. It has, once it's kind of activated, like you say, Catherine, I think it becomes a charged environment, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm not sure if we're saying the same thing. We might be, but it's almost indescribable. I was watching some things about death, and there was a nurse who said, I was inclined to believe her. She's on YouTube. She's a hospice nurse. She actually saw an angel. I mean, probably none of you believe in angels. A being, a sort of energetic being at the moment of death, who sort of brought the soul, inverted commas. But there's something, I don't know what it is. So my task would be, if I was practicing mindfulness, would be to be, how can I say, being very, very present. But that presence would also involve pulling in an awful lot of stuff that I had from training and knowledge and thinking what to do and how they actually died. So does anyone know what I mean?
Yeah, I recognise that.
Yeah, you're almost torn, aren't you? But how do you stay mindful in that situation? How does one?
But that's I mean, Catherine, I think that idea of staying mindful is maybe a trap in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like that kind of, are we aiming for a state? Well, I don't think we are. No, we're
I got it. Absolutely. It's not a state. No, go on. Sorry.
No, I mean, that's it really. Like
So, that is, I think I had on my precious notes. I can't hear you properly. No. Can you hear me? Anyone?
I can hear you. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was, but if your signal isn't good, signal isn't very good for several people. So if there's something you want to say and it's not coming through, just put it in the chat.
Shall I look at the chat?
It's all right. I can look at that for you.
Oh, good. Yes, I'm not used to Zoom. I think that you can get, I mean, I don't mean to be rude about mindfulness. I think what this gentleman was saying, you can get on a mindfulness trip, and if you're on a mindfulness trip, you're not being mindful. That I bet you've told them that already, haven't you, Ewan?
Well, I know I haven't, but we're approaching mindfulness differently because we're saying we're talking about our true nature here. And in our true, when we glimpse our true nature, mindfulness arises automatically. It's not a state. Um, um, it's our true nature, which we've kind of forgotten, and we might. And what we're doing in this course is accessing glimpses of it and being curious about that. I'm very well aware of the mindfulness industry and this kind of aspiration to a certain state, to be present in this moment. When I've explained what moment, how can we not be present in the moment? It's and how it becomes kind of rarefied and cliquey, and I've experienced quite a bit of that as well. Um, so it becomes a kind of concept, and it becomes part of the whole spiritual materialism.
I love that phrase.
Mm,
That was old Chogyam, wasn't it, who started that?
yeah,
And he was a very naughty boy.
he was.
But that is, I mean, that one of the reasons I don't speak about stuff is because it is such a trap, this spiritual materialism. And oh, I have this wonderful thing that I found on my notes about how your ego is there. You look at your ego, you think, well, I'm going to get rid of that ego. So you get rid of your ego, and then that ego is rather proud and sort of busts its nails. And then the other ego looks at it and says, no, you can't do that because you can't be proud of losing your ego, but I'm still here. And you go around in a circle trying to achieve something. Is that what you meant? Ish.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, non-dual mindfulness has been kind of co-opted by Buddhism, hasn't it, really, in its modern form, although it appears in all kinds of contemplative things are in all religions. Um, and there's a lot of talk about skillful means and providing a scaffold for people to understand mindfulness.
Do you
But
know, Ewan, scaffold always means the gallows to me. I'm very old fashioned. So that would be great. Going to hang the ego. Sorry, do go on.
yeah, no, it's just always couched in terms which I find become obstructive when it's so simple, isn't it, Catherine?
Yes. Well, it's never simple until it is simple. That's the weird thing.
Mm,
You can't, it's very, very mysterious, the whole thing.
yeah.
Isn't it words that get in the way?
Well, you know, that's interesting because they do. But I find that it's a bit like awful old cliches. The old cliche: if you need the raft to get across the sea, then or the river, and then you throw the raft away once you've got there. But without them, I don't know what I would have done. What do you think?
Without words.
Yeah,
Well, as far as we know, animals manage pretty well without them.
indeed they do. Well, I don't know. You say that they communicate, don't they? I've got 3 dogs sitting at my feet.
They're probably being terribly mindful.
Sorry, say that again.
Your dogs are probably being terribly mindful.
Probably thinking, why didn't I give them a bigger dinner? But
Catherine, might be useful if you tell us what happened for you, what your experience. Well, when you suddenly left a part of you behind, and what?
Oh yeah. Well, I was well, I'll tell you. I'll go back a tiny bit further. I was a devotee of Satya Sai Baba. You know, I did meditation and chanting, and I used to lead chants. Can you believe it? And he came in a dream. Now, even before that, years before that, a friend of mine went to see Sai Baba, and I thought that's interesting. And he came in a dream to me and awakened my heart center, which it sounds like nothing, but I was a child who didn't love anyone, you know, and I didn't have the proper feelings for people. I wasn't cold, but I just couldn't arouse these emotions that normal people had. Anyway, so that worked. And then I went along for quite a few years. And then I had another dream, and he said, take a back seat, don't do this anymore. So he just cast me aside. Absolutely fine. I got no objection to that. And soon after that, Julian, husband, said, I was going to Glastonbury with a friend. He said, why don't you go and see Tony Parsons? Not the author, the other guy. So we started going to see Tony, which was nice enough. And that sort of freed me from dogma, because non-dual dogma can be almost as bad as any other sort of dogma. So anyway, I would just trolled along to London to one of Tony's meetings, and I was sitting on the floor. And when I got up, I left myself behind. It was really weird. I left Catherine behind. It was quite extraordinary because it wasn't like an out of the body experience. They're different. But this was, there was no, I don't know, it was the weirdest thing. And after that, things were never quite the same. But lots of things looked exactly the same. You'll be glad to know.
What did you do? Did you go back?
What?
What did you do? Did you go back to get yourself, or what happened?
I couldn't. It was just the thing. The Catherine thing was, I don't know. I would say it's a bit like sweeping away a spider's web, but I don't like hurting spiders. So, what was it like? I don't even think about it very often, but it was just a radical change. Radical. Good God, what cliches. If anyone says radical, run. Well done. You got out quick. And it's not like I've immediately become some sort of saint or something. I still like watching Star Trek. Oh, God, live long and prosper. Kabla. Hello.
Star Trek. Oh, sorry.
That's that Julian George, the sideshow. They're like the couple in the Muppets in the gallery. They're talking. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
We don't exist, so don't worry about it.
Well, you talked about and you said they've been hijacked by Buddhism, but really, I think both Taoism and Buddhism, they say these weird things like it exists, it doesn't exist, it neither exists nor doesn't exist. And you go deeper and deeper into these paradoxes, and you can understand them. That's the weird thing. It really is. I wouldn't have understood them before, and now I do, sort of, but I don't know if that's any help. And life seems, in some ways, it seems absolutely poignant and beautiful, which is strange, and yet evanescent. But the one thing I don't deal with well is cruelty and things like that. I find that really difficult. So I wouldn't say that I'm a fully enlightened person, because I have not really come to terms with cruelty that people inflict on other people and other animals. So what does anyone think about that?
About what more specifically?
Well, if you think I had an awakening, say, so you're saying, is this woman, does she say she's fully enlightened? Who the F does she think she is sitting there? So something happened, something changed, Catherine got left behind. And there's a lot of things that you would say, yes, something really did happen. And things do seem beautiful, and there's oneness and communication and understanding. But I cannot deal with cruelty. I can't watch extreme violence on television. I can't bear to see creatures and humans hurt and upset. And I think that makes me a bit inferior in some ways. I'm sort of joking, but
I mean, Catherine, isn't that a measure of your compassion? And I don't know, without wishing to particularly go back to the Buddhist thing, but the kind of sense that there is a lot of discomfort or suffering or whatever, disease in the world, you know. And I mean, maybe the enlightenment is that it's there, and that's a fact of life and death, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, thank God for death, really. We'd really be stuck without it.
indeed. That's right.
But see, death is really, I think, the least thing to bother about. But I think about it. What dies? That's an old question, isn't it? What dies?
So if you left Catherine behind,
Yeah,
in your case, what dies?
exactly. That's what I keep asking myself. Because I will be dead soon. I'm 70 something. I'll be gone soon enough. You know.
Catherine, when this Catherine died, who then walked out of the room?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
You're still Catherine. So are you saying that you kind of like shifted timeline? The timeline of that Catherine ended and something in you shifted, if you were to say that each direction that we take is choosing a different timeline, or that your soul kind of lightened to a different way, so you left a version of you behind, saying that there's lots of versions, possible versions of us. You left one version of Catherine behind and became another version.
I'm a science fiction freak. That sounds like...
Oh, but this is quantum. But we're getting into quantum now, and because I just wanted to weave into what you said, that I had spontaneous healing about
Really?
20 years ago.
What happened?
I was doing a very deep 10-day gypsy workshop with lots of singing, breath work, lots of workshopping through pain and anger and love and everything. We were blindfold for days and stuff. So when at the end of it, after the breathing sessions, and we were on the floor, I was in like, you keep ourselves in this box. The whole thing was to push the walls out from the box,
Yeah.
So I was in a very frightened state because I was on the verge of having a diagnosis that I didn't want. So I was keeping myself very safe.
What sort of diagnosis? A fatal one, or just?
I had 3 to choose from: leukemia, lymphoma, or HIV. So,
nice, good mix. Yeah.
So I was keeping myself very small, and then as it progressed through the 10 days, I was like, oh, this room's getting big, and now I've got a lounge chair, and the walls are getting further away, and I made a lovely big room for myself out of my box. And then something happened, and all the walls fell, and it was like I was just spiraling through tunnels, and it was like going through the universe. And when I came out of that, I said, I'm going to be all right. This is
wonderful.
Okay. I'm going to be okay. And everything changed. And the way I still looked the same, and I still felt like shit. I still had to be in bed like every couple of hours, but I knew I was better, and so something shifted. So you could say that I left that version of me there, the ill version of me, even though I didn't look. I mean, my mum thought I looked shocking by the time I came back, because I'd lost weight as well, because you're eating blindfold and you just don't eat as much. So I was, and I couldn't hear her because I'd come off the plane, and because everything was swollen, the hearing had gone. So she's giving out to me on the way back from Bristol, look at the state of you, you've got a biopsy tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just blissed. Like, she's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, can't hear you. It's like, it's just... So I was in this bliss, and it was an all-knowing, I'm healed, I am okay. And none of the fear came in. Even when I sat down with the specialist and they said, it's probably going to be one of these, we need to test these. And I went, I think I'm all right. And I didn't go back. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I don't think we're talking about the same thing, but I think that is just lovely. That is wonderful, really.
If we're not talking about the same thing, can you more explain?
Yeah.
Who got up from the seat then?
Well, somebody said, is it words that get in the way? Yeah.
I see those as a similar thing. That's all. That's how my brain connects to that.
Yeah. Well, there was something going on for both of us. But I mean, yours is just, what a lovely story. That is amazing. Mine was more, you've got me really stumped, because I don't think they are the same. There were similarities, but the thing. Sorry, there's a phrase: the camel has got its nose under the tent. Do you know that one?
No.
What can I say? What can I say? Oh, and look, you're paying good. Well, you're not paying good money probably to do this. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I'm so sorry about this. What can I say? Because I didn't feel better in some ways. I remember we got lost on the underground or something, and on the way back because we were in London, and I didn't feel calm and everything. But I think the ego had gone, and I'm cautious about that because I sound full of ego, don't I? You know, and if you insulted me, I'd probably swallow and take it, but there'd be some ego there. But this thing that really tethered me to being a personality, a character, and an ego, the tether was broken. But it's really difficult to describe. But do you feel that you'll never be the same again since your experience?
I think what happened for me was the unknown of what that was, and then the search for what that was. So I continued to search for what that moment was, because I didn't understand it, and I didn't know anybody else that had experienced it. And this was before the internet, so I couldn't even like I didn't even know. Like everyone else was like, I don't know.
You understand it now?
I understand it more now because I've had some similar experiences since, and I had reminders as well. I had reminders, like that kind of pop of like, okay, so what are you going to do? Are you going to do the same again, or are you going to go back to habitual ways of being? Are you going to get the fear and go to the hospital, or are you just going to stay with the knowing?
And what did you do?
I stayed with the knowing, but I constantly fell out of it and fell back into it. and I just keep falling in and out of it.
Yeah.
But more so now, especially from doing this work and doing some other work into mystery school, I'm staying more in it. I'm more in the knowing than out of the knowing.
Yeah. Was that a dog there or a dog here?
Sorry, that's mine.
Oh, fine. No, because I've just telling you, we've got a newish dog, and I call him Yappa Arafat because he yaps a lot. No, mine feels awful things. It feels very non-dual, but it also, I knew what I wanted to say. What I find now is, I expect some people will have heard of Kabir, Rumi, and people like that, the Sufi poets. I say completely, I mean, WTF, who do I think I am, you know? But I'm just talking about Kabir. I get this extraordinary feeling here. I can't even read too much of his translated work because it just makes me want to cry. I think that's the embarrassing thing, actually, that things make me want to cry that are about, can you believe it, about God? The G word. In a non-duality conversation, I've said the G word. I will be shot. And we've all, I'm sure, all had struggles with Christianity, or lots of us have. You know, poor things, empty churches, etc. But I can't now. If I see, does anyone know what the Stations of the Cross are? You do. Yeah, it's just I forget how many there are. Is it 12? But they're different stages of Jesus's crucifixion. I can't do that. I can't walk around, for instance, our cathedral, and see that without wanting to cry. And that would never have happened before. I mean, it's weird, but it's like I can, and yet I can also understand or really feel with the really austere things. Some of Buddhism is very austere, And some of Zen is downright, well, oh, what is the word? Fierce. Some of the fierceness of Zen, I can understand that too. So something's been loosened, I think. But you see, I'm talking about me as if the me matters, and it really doesn't. You know, I mean, you sort of go on with the game, and a very nice game it is too. And you cry at the Stations of the Cross, and you feed the dogs, and then, but I can't describe it. I'm useless. I'm useless. Are you going to be very sorry you'll wipe this recording? I can tell you, Ewan.
No, not at all.
Edit it. What?
I had Catherine, I know what you mean about the feeling of love. I'm not religious in any way, but in recent years have leaned into Christ consciousness.
Yeah.
And after it's actually starting Qigong, because my Qigong master said working with the masters, and they can be you know, Jesus, Lao Tzu, Buddha, your grandparent, and he just listed off and I was like, oh my God, I can use any of them. I didn't even know I was allowed, you know, like I don't know who that is, but you know, let's find out. So I went with my Qigong master when it was matters of health. When it was matters of love or relationships, it was Jesus. And then when it was matters to do with career stuff, Buddha. I don't know why, but he was very helpful. And I kind of connected that way. It was almost like giving permission to, it's okay, you don't have to go to church, you can lean into. And the more then I felt into, so when the energy of Jesus comes, it's so full of love. And I had a big connection again this week. It's like the tears just flow, and it's just so embodied, like so much love. And then I listen to the messages that come in as well. But then, you know, an hour later, I can be feeding the dog and just getting on. It's like almost like the magic in the mundane, you know, we can have these like spiritual, like, oh my God, you know, and I did some magic then as well. I was out and it was like, my daughter needs to hear back from this job. Let's just put this energy out there, you know. And an hour later, she got the call that she got the job. I'm like, right, great. What else can we do? And then we did it for my partner's been waiting to hear about this interview for this job that came in the following evening. I'm like, okay, what do we really want? But it's leaning into that. Then what is that? You know, is it like, they're all things that you don't explain, that the mind can explain, the words can explain away. But being so in that love of tears, you know, I just thought I cried more because I'm perimenopausal.
Because what?
I'm perimenopausal.
Oh, right.
I could cry really easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you men don't understand. You have no feelings.
I only get to the second cross and I'm in tears.
I don't think that we're the same, but I think yours is just brilliant. I really do. I think we're approaching from different ends. So I wouldn't do, when I say I wouldn't do, it wouldn't come to me to do what you're doing. I don't mean I wouldn't do that. It's just that isn't the sort of thing I would have done, but it just sounds lovely. It really does. Mine's.
Don't you think we're in the same place but come from it from different places then?
I don't know. Mine feels different, but there's a connection somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah, otherwise I have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, we shouldn't. No,
I'm in the right place then.
The Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao.
Right, good. That's why I like the Tao the best.
Yes.
Can I ask Catherine, because you kind of use the word game, but then you retreat from it. It's not a game.
Yeah.
But if there's a playfulness there, but there's a seriousness as well.
Absolutely. There's an austerity as well, and a fullness and a lushness. Sorry, I interrupted. Go on.
No, that's it. I'm just curious why you resist calling it a game, or
because
it's a bit nihilistic, then, doesn't it?
It's a bit of a cliche calling it a game, and it can sound a bit cold.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't it? it makes me think of that Victorian poem, Vita Lampada, play up, and play the game. That's a sort of very upper middle class British thing from a couple of centuries ago. The game. No, I can see what people mean, and I had to say it because it's not. I'll see if I can remember. Thus shall ye think of all this fleeting life, a star at dawn, a bubble in the stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. And that is from one of the Buddhist sutras. So it is important, you need the lamp, you need the stream, but I think if you say game, it sounds like you're not honouring people's reality. And I think I would like to honour it. And, it sounds really stupid, but if you look at little creatures, if you get that classic thing, get your teaspoon of soil, and it's full of the most beautiful little creatures, tardigrades. Do you know what tardigrades are?
Yeah, I can't see them. Only they're too small.
Yeah, they're just amazing, and they can live. I think they can live in space, or they're just extraordinary. So not seeing it all as a bubble in a stream, and yet it's beautiful. So is it a game? Not quite. No. Let's strike the word game from this conversation.
Is it a ride? It's just a ride. There's Bill Hicks.
Am I along for the ride? No, because a ride means that I'm using something to ride on. No, what is it? You tell me, Ewan.
Yes, it's a mystery.
It is, isn't it? There's a song by Iris Dement called "Let the Mystery Be." Do you know it?
No.
Well, I'm not really that much into country and western, but Iris Dement, "Let the Mystery Be," absolutely brilliant song.
Mm.
Told for me, my friend Rose, who died, she was a Buddhist nun. That was her favourite song. They played it at her funeral.
Mm.
Oh, well, we haven't talked about death very much, have we?
Maybe somebody has a specific question we can go to. And there's some people, their signal's not so good, so they can put it in the chat if they have a question for Catherine.
Catherine, I wonder, I wonder what you think, if anything at all, about, the so-called capital letters near-death experiences.
Oh, I think that I'm all for it. I know. I think about it. I wonder if it's just the same way this is real and not real, and they are, but I'm convinced it's as true as this. I'm sitting here. Absolutely. Years ago, I've seen spiritualist mediums. I saw a very famous one called Leslie Flint, who's but you wouldn't if you've never been into it. And the people I've talked to, the books I've read, there's something going on when you die. It may be it's illusory, it may be just a bubble in the stream, but I'm absolutely. What do you think, young man?
I think it's all just projection myself. I think.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
That is interesting. Yeah, there's this guy. There's a publishing house called New Harbinger.
Okay.
And the guy who founded it, Matt Mackay, his son was shot just cycling home for a robbery. And he's convinced he communicated with him. He wrote a book about it. But I've seen too many things. I've seen too many things to think that it is just projection, but the power of projection is strong. So what do you think happens when you die, young man?
I think we just, what kind of interests me, Catherine, is that I've not had any of those sort of experiences. And I don't believe there's any kind of reliable contact from the other side, if you like, So I assume that we actually dematerialize and reconstitute as part of, the greater atmosphere or whatever, we rot and the worms eat us, and I don't know.
Well, there's no death as such because everything just changes into something else. It's the law of thermodynamics or something, isn't it?
Sure.
No energy is ever lost. It's just transformed. So
I mean, it's sorry, I was just going to say, Catherine, it's quite interesting. I mean, you know, the way that the kind of the tech bros and such like trying to upload their consciousness and stuff like that. You know, I mean, what is consciousness? I suppose is part of this. Sorry,
don't get
that's
started
how
on
long have
that
we got
one.
left? Yeah, that's right.
No, and do you know there was we just saw something where this excuse me swearing, this guy said fuck death, death is finished, because they can actually upload so much of a person using AI, not artificial insemination but artificial intelligence, and so you can actually talk to, it's just like the person who's died, and you can just, it said there'll be no more deaths because we will have uploaded everything. I mean, that is just, that's just mad, but that's not the point.
No, surely part of the point actually about
Yeah.
life, if you like, Catherine, is actually whatever we are, you know, it's like you say, it's to experience the bubble in the stream and like what do you call it? Kelly was saying, you know, to experience, I suppose partly to experience intense emotion, isn't it? And I don't see the yeah, I'll shut up. I'll shut up. That's me.
You sound just like my husband. I'm not sure about this intense emotion for everyone, because some people, I think, are probably lucky. They feel really intense emotions. I really, until I had that dream of Sai Baba, I had to imitate emotions a lot of the time because I just knew I wasn't normal. I don't know if I was autistic or what. I mean, I could pass for normal, but eccentric. Oh, look, he's got it. Good. um, so where were we? So it doesn't necessarily have to be lots of emotion. Sometimes there is, and sometimes there isn't. And I really rather envy people who are swept over by it.
Yeah, I actually I agree with you. I think you're absolutely right. I tend to be personally probably quite sort of you know, not detached or analytic, maybe favoring rather than emotional favoring. So yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. Which
Yeah.
is fine. I mean, I don't think we should beat ourselves up, or anyone with lots of emotions should. It's just the way things are. Because I think, yeah. Hmm. So
I
you don't think anything? Hello, go on.
was say it's really interesting questions about death, near death, and what goes on beyond. But I think it's something to be experienced. And I don't mean doing away with yourself now, but
I'll do it now.
I mean, you know, allow yourself to have the experiences that you have here.
Yes.
And you know, I've had so many experiences. I'd be here a while if I said them all. And
Really?
all I can say is I don't really believe in death, except for maybe as a guide to
I
another
mean,
place.
the body has to decay, but things go on.
Exactly. Even the body doesn't die, does it? Like you were saying,
Exactly.
it goes to it. It's like I don't. Yes, I don't
No.
really believe. I've just seen so much.
Yeah.
My mind, and not just you know. Honestly, I'll be here for ages. I'm writing a book at the moment.
Oh,
I'll
really?
give it to you for free. Maybe
Oh,
if I finish editing, but and it'll include a little bit of it. Because it's just too much for my logical, open-minded, skeptic mind just dismisses. Like I did try dismissing it for a long while, but after a while, you're like, okay, all right, hands up. So yeah, be careful what you ask for, because
that
you
is
can
fascinating.
have the experiences. But I was lucky to have the experiences after the training that I've had. So
Really?
when things happened,
Mm.
a lot of things happened. I was able to work with them. Wow.
And
Yeah.
did you have lots of emotions? As we're on the emotion thing.
Emotions. Oh, God. When you said, oh, people are lucky that get to experience emotions. Oh my goodness. I experienced too many emotions. Sometimes
I mean, I do.
I don't know what they are. I'm starting to learn to identify what they are. But yeah, I get so overwhelmed with emotions, but that's all right, isn't it?
Oh, well, absolutely. No, but it's interesting because this, you know, I can get up and leave myself behind, whatever that was, and experience. I mean, you know, and have a voice telling me to do my nurse training and stuff. But I'm not, you know, which I mean changed my life. you know, completely different. But it's not hugely, it really isn't hugely emotional. It doesn't really seem to matter. It just works for some people, but it's interesting, isn't it? Is it the fact that if you have a strong emotion, you're likely to follow it because it's tapping. It's like tapping on the window and saying, listen, listen, listen. Do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
You think it's like something tapping on the window and getting you to notice?
or whacking you in the head with a baseball bat. On your leg.
Absolutely.
Tapping if you're lucky. Yeah.
Do people in England ever buy baseball bats to actually play baseball?
Possibly not.
Sorry, I'll keep moving forward because I've got dogs at my feet, looking rather worried at me talking to invisible people. So, I don't know. I'm just trying. I always remember though when Sai Baba came to me in that dream decades ago and woke my heart centre. It was like it was a different trip. It really was. It was fascinating, really. Yeah, but I've still never been super, super emotional. Well, I think I've said everything. I'm so boring, really. I can't imagine why I'm here anyway. You're all supposed to say, no, 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 come again.
Oh, it'd be great if you could come again, really.
Well, I'm not really much use. But the good news is that the ego does decline somewhat after leaving yourself behind. So I'm not as upset as I might be about being an idiot. Do you know what I mean? I don't, you know, I can make a fool of myself. Well, who cares?
So this voice told you to go and study nursing. Why? What was the meaning of that? Why did it do it? What did it have in store for you?
Oh, just, I mean, do you really want to be selling commercial property for the rest of your life? What did it have in store for me? Nothing. It just seemed I mean, it's like some people seem to get told what to do and then they do something very purposeful. I mean, I just applied and did the course, and I've never really made big decisions about my life or my future. Just things seem to happen. And that was unusual because that was like a decision. I actually had to go and apply. So what was your proper question? Sorry, I was wittering.
Well, I'm just curious about how this voice told you to go and study nursing. Why? What was the intention there? What was
Why did the voice do that?
Yeah, what did it
It really suited me. Ian, because they had they just changed the way nursing worked. So you looked at evidence-based practice, and you know you had to write proper essays and stuff, and it just really suited me. I learned about life, the universe, and everything. Really, more than I would from working for an estate agent. It did teach me about life, the universe, and everything. Yeah. 42.
Yeah. And what do you think of the NHS now?
Me? I don't know because I'm not working in it. It sounds rather tragic. It really does. I mean, the government was really did a really good job when I was starting to nurse. It was excellent. There was a lot of stuff available. That was very good. I can't bear to think of it. I just try not to annoy the doctor very often. What about you? What do you think?
I think I think it's Thatcher brought in this games theory to run the NHS, which was developed by a man suffering paranoid schizophrenia. And it's to do with, it's to do with the carrot and the stick,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And performance measures. Everybody's measured by their performance. And I was talking with Paul about this the other day, and I think it's just people are just performing a job rather than embodying it. I mean, the best embody it, but the others, because that's what's expected, is a performance of something.
How do you perform empathic behavior towards a patient? How do you perform it?
Yeah.
Well, that's why the quality's so lacking, isn't it? In fact, that's because you can't. That's right, Catherine. You can't. I'm sure that I think that's a general thing across the public services, isn't it? Possibly across, society. The performance has become the measure of, worth rather than, kind of more grounded feelings, if you like.
Mm.
So it's an economic base, isn't it? I think Ewan's exactly right.
Transactional is economic.
Transactional, yeah.
Constantly measuring. So anything good that happens despite the structures.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
management, and that's another word. The management, the flourishing of management. These paper pushers that create more paper pushers that push paper around.
I feel sorry for the poor devils, though. That's the thing. You see, one thing good that came out of whatever happened when I was nursing was that they've got far more nurse specialists now. They've opened up nursing.
Mm.
And that, I think, was a great help so that people could actually use their skills. But I mean, that may be a little side thing. But there again, then you've got incompetent physician assistants. I hope no one is here. This one who don't have the experience, because you can have knowledge, but you've got to serve time on the front line. Anyway, sorry, that was boring.
No, it's relevant, isn't it? And because people, I mean, since the pandemic, when people were dying in terrible, dire situation, because partly the performance of care rather than actual care.
Yeah.
And
I know. I was lucky when I was training, and in my early days as nursing, I was really lucky that wasn't the case. Sorry, go on.
yeah, no, so there's this disassociation, and I think that the NHS staff themselves was called a moral injury. They get a moral injury from having to perform rather than actually feel when
I
they
love
can't
that phrase.
but they can't.
Moral injury.
Yeah, it's not one I made up,
Yeah.
but it's a common.
Yeah, that is really interesting, isn't it? Because the other thing we didn't talk about, and probably the moment's past now, is that non-duality doesn't really, talk about morals and stuff. But I feel that, and it's just a feeling. I've got feelings. Moral compass, so important. It really is important. And people who start teaching spirituality, I don't mean you, do I? They get they get surrounded by flatterers. They start to slip. They lose their moral compass, and it happens so often. And I think that is something that is interesting to explore. And unfortunately, I'm bound by confidentiality agreements or my own moral compass. I can't tell you, but I know some stories. It's not really very funny.
Yeah.
You have to write a book.
That is that. I'm glad you said that. Moral injury. Yeah, good one.
Yeah. So we can go to, and it's up to you if you feel like it's a good place to stop there, and I hope you can come and join us again, or if is there any more people?
I can't.
Anything?
I find myself rather boring. That's the funny thing. I mean, it's very kind of you to say come again, and I really appreciate it.
Well, I think it's wonderful, Catherine, because you're not polished and you're not.
What? How dare you?
You're the raw thing. I had to say this, but you're a normal person that's had an extraordinary thing happen.
Yeah.
And I think for many non-duality teachers, you're not a non-duality teacher, but they're very polished, they're very articulate, they're very
I can think of some words, but we won't. It's not nice to swear on something like this, and it's been recorded, so we won't.
Yeah. But it's very important for there to be an understanding of how ordinary this is, isn't it?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm waving my arms around. Absolutely. So it looks stupid for me to get up somewhere and start telling people stuff.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I just had to stop myself from talking too much because you asked so many good questions and wrote so many good thoughts. I could have been talking to you for ages.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I shall find out about. You're a Catherine. You spelt your name wrong. It's spelled with a K. Oh, this is terrible. I'm so sorry.
I have to differentiate myself.
Well, thank you for that.
I echo what Catherine with a K says. It has been really interesting, but I'm a bit like a ball of wool that if I pull a thread, it'll probably be untangling it all night. So sometimes it pays me to just zip it and listen.
Well, I should have done that.
Well, yeah, and I think we all know secretly all of the answers to any questions that were posed tonight. Somewhere in the that we know they're there. So ultimately, but yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks, Catherine.
Oh, well, thank you for thanking me. I appreciate it. Really, I do. Thank you, sir, madam.
Or a bit of both.
A bit of both.
The journey's given me both experiences, like, so yeah. Hence why I wouldn't unravel that ball of wool.
Well, you know, what happens is if you ever try to undo, if you get a sack of birdseed or something and it's got like a machine across the top, if you find the right bit and you pull it, you just pull and the whole thing undoes. Have you ever done that?
On birdseed?
Well, or it could be birdseed, or it might be a sack of potatoes or any sack.
Oh, yeah, or beetroot.
Yeah,
yeah. It's
Have
great.
you ever done that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you might find that bit.
Mm-hmm.
You might find it, and then there you'd be free.
Interestingly enough, one experience did stop me in my tracks, so to speak, and that's when I experienced being nothing but particles while being conscious and being awake with my eyes closed and the bright sunlight coming through a skylight. That hampered me for about 6 months because it was unnerving.
Hang on, was this all day, every day?
Mostly when the sunlight would come through a window.
Yeah.
It would have me on all fours on the floor, crying that I wanted to go home.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, those 6 months, I didn't kind of see the beauty. I just saw the kind of almost torture. But I went to a performance called The Nature of Why in the Lowry Theatre in Manchester, and it's audience participation. And it was in the round, and I arrived, I took my shoes and socks off and said to myself, or the self, oh, we're going to get involved. And okay, didn't know what to expect. If anybody hasn't ever been to that, by the way, I can't recommend it highly enough. And it was 30 musicians all moving around the space and about a dozen dancers, and audience were invited to intermingle, interact with the dancers. The musicians could have cellos, violins, the whole shebang. And there was 2 ethereal singers somewhere in the auditorium. I didn't know for most of the night where they were. Well, one of them hit a particular note, and by this point I'd already become part of the dance troupe. And there was this fleeting moment where I just reached for the ground and reached up high, and I just felt like I touched what I felt was both places at once. And
that's wonderful. Yeah.
it really anchored in that sense of, oh, right, okay. I am here and I'm there, and I'm here and I'm there, and I'm here and I'm there. And then 3 older ladies accompanied me for the journey home, which was a walk to get a bus, and then a bus to get a tram, and then a tram to get a train. And at each juncture, an older lady would part company and another would join. And then I got on the train to come back to West Yorkshire, and there was a full train, and older man didn't have a seat. So I stood up and said, oh, would you like my seat? And he said, are you okay? And I said, yeah. And each one of them asked me if I was okay. And I was like, wow, that was only retrospectively did I look back and think, was I being checked up on? they say that I was okay now. But when I did speak about this to a few people about a month or two later in some workshops, somebody mentioned cellular memory. And 4 months prior to that initial experience of being nothing but particles, I'd had major surgery in December 2018. So I would have had a general anesthetic. And part of me wonders, because I like to marry science with spiritualities wherever I can to make some sense and reasoning. And I did wonder whether what I experienced was actually all of the 30 trillion or so cells all being conscious, the conscious within each cell, because that's the only way I can describe it. I felt like I was experiencing a conscience within like millions of consciences. So I couldn't fathom it. I think that's why it was so unnerving. So
it's fascinating because individual bits of us do have their own consciousness. I think that is really interesting.
Yeah. So I think that's cellular memory, and then we talk about death, and it never really. It just goes somewhere else. It becomes something else. It becomes someone else. It becomes something else. Then that does mean that we're all essentially becoming something else, and the conscience with it. So
we are also made up of other people's dead bodies, aren't they? Because everything it's like that people say we're all made of stardust. Well, I say we're all made of other people's corpses. Seriously, we are, because where there's nothing else, there's just what's there. That is fascinating.
Yeah, but these experiences, as I'm sure so many of us have got, and I think that's what draws us to find answers, doesn't it? On a spiritual perspective is because of those experiences. Part of my reason for coming tonight, as well as turning up as often as I can, is because I'm going on a journey to become a celebrant.
Become a celebrant?
Celebrant, yeah.
In what
for funerals specifically.
Oh, really?
So I'm intrigued to know how I can best serve those that I'll need to serve, with
that's a really good thing to do. My goodness.
Yeah.
It's always good to pronounce people's names correctly. Celebrant 101, pronounce the names correctly.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful thing to do. But you'll be doing marriages as well?
Most likely, yeah. But I'm doing the training with an organisation that have created a diploma for it, rather than, because legally you don't need a qualification.
No, anyone can do it.
I feel it's better to be best served. Yeah.
Well, I think that's really important, because you don't know what you don't know in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Judea, for asking that.
Is it goodbye then?
It might be. Yeah,
it might be.
Feels like there's one kind of thing that we haven't talked about that is such a big part of death, which is grief, isn't it?
Oh, it's a bastard. It really is, isn't it? If I say if I say the word bastard, it always makes people laugh. Do I pronounce it oddly?
Yeah.
I think grief is a whole crikey. I grieve for the planet, let alone people who are dead. I don't grieve for people who are dead, actually. No, I always think I wish I'd been nicer to my parents, and I miss my friend Rose, but I don't grieve for them. That's interesting. Do you?
No, I don't actually. I think, no, I don't.
I think it's different when you lose a child, though. And I do miss some of our dogs.
Yeah, I think I had a similar experience to, Paul Hedderman, the non-duality teacher. So he talked a lot about his Uncle Frank and his mum asking him to come and say goodbye to Uncle Frank in a coffin. And he was only 11, and he looked at him and said, "That's not Uncle Frank."
Oh,
he realized
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
body.
At that age, he knew.
That's not our body. And I had the same with
Yeah.
my father's body when I saw him, and I thought, well, that was never my father. So if that
It's
wasn't my
weird, isn't it?
father, then
Yeah.
what is he? And if he
Yeah.
wasn't his body, then he was never the body. So he's still here somehow. You know what I mean? So he's not in person, but I don't feel that loss.
No, I'm the same. But I do think that it's easy to say,
Hmm.
and I'm careful with myself not to assume that other people feel like that. I do think there's something biological going on when you lose a child.
Hmm.
I don't know from experience, but
Yeah.
well, I'll miss you when you die, Ewan. But I probably will die before you.
That's
That's funny, isn't it? What do you mean? How dare you? Oh, well, it's coming to all of us, and we don't know what it is.
no. Are you frightened?
I'll tell you what, one thing really bothers me is that I'm devastatingly untidy. You wouldn't believe it. I really got to get all my bits and pieces in order. I'm frightened of leaving a mess for Julian to sort out.
Hmm.
That's what bothers me the most. I don't know. Are you frightened?
I'll say no, but I don't know when it comes to it. I mean, I've been in situations where I thought I was going to die and I was terrified in airplanes and things.
The body's frightened, definitely. It's a natural thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't know. And I think I would probably fight to save my life if I was attacked. But the Buddha in a previous life gave his body to a tiger to eat because it was hungry.
yeah, and he
I
choked
mean,
on.
yeah, with that skeptical sound.
Well,
Yeah.
well, he died on a fish bone, didn't he? He choked on a fish bone.
Oh, yes, but that was that life. This was the tiger was in a previous.
From a previous era.
Yes.
The first time I died, I didn't want to come back. I did need death experience. I didn't want to come back. I was forced back. I wasn't impressed.
Really?
Second time, I recognised, I clocked what was happening, and I made myself come back. So I don't think I'd be frightened. I'm frightened more of the time before death, in case it's painful.
Yes.
But and I don't, I would like to do some more stuff here. That's why I came back the second time. But apart from that, I'll be like, poof, I'm off, because it just felt maybe it's projection. I don't think so, but yeah.
If it is projection, it's a jolly good one. Hang on to it.
Yeah, that coincidentally, lots of people have very similar effects, and I had twice. Yeah, but yes, no.
Well, not many people can say that.
It's very lovely. So they're good. Here's lovely as well, isn't it? Experience here first.
Do you know, the best death I ever saw was a woman who was inside had literally rotted away. So she was on massive doses of diamorphine. She knew she had a few hours to live. She had no pain. She belonged to this extraordinary Christian sect. I mean, really strange. She had no fear whatsoever. She knew she'd die, she'd go into the grave, and then after an allotted time, the Lord would raise her up and she'd join the elect. And she had the best death I've ever seen.
Hmm. Hmm. So Michael's not here right now. He's the one that said, well, it's all projection. Well, maybe everything is projection. This is a projection.
Yeah, could well be. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
So it being a projection doesn't devalue it at all. It's just.
I suppose that's a bit like the game, isn't it? Projection. Projection I prefer, though. Yeah. Well.
I'm thinking of the word now. Game projection. There's something.
Got to be, because our sense, even if you just take the scientific view, all we've got is our senses to inform us. And we know that there's a lot of stuff our senses don't see, like all the different lights, infrared and all the things we don't see. So who knows what's actually going on?
Mm.
God knows, and he's not telling.
Shall we leave it there, Catherine? Because I'm
Yeah.
Live
long and prosper.
Yeah, lovely to see you. And please come again. And
thank you for having me.
And, I think it could go on forever, couldn't it? I'd love to hear what other people's feelings of death,
Yes.
what their own death is. And
Yes.
It's something we don't talk about often, is it?
Thank you. I'm going to press the little X here, so it's goodbye.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Bye.
for putting up with
Bye.
me. Goodbye.
Really
Thank you
good.
very much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.